Greetings, African people. I'm going to jump in the topic today for the purpose of expanding the argument about Black lives. The word is cowardice, and the dictionary's definition is that cowardice is a trait within fear and excess self concern override doing or saying what is right, good, and of help to others or oneself in a time of need. It is the opposite of courage. As a label, cowardice indicates a failure of character in the face of a challenge. So, in other words, cowardice and fear are sort of brethrens. You won't find one without the other. And for many of us who have experienced abuse on all kinds of levels, fear is always a precipitating factor that allow us to stay in that situation, that allow us to continue to remain fearful. But it's cowardice that prevents us from saying, this is enough. And I think African people around the world, most African people are cowards. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful because I understand the systems that exist around us that would sometimes cause one to be cowardly. I am a coward in many ways, but I have decided that I have got to do something about that cowardice because it doesn't really help me to become a better person, and it doesn't take me out of that bondage. So I am learning. So I too have been a coward for a long time. But I have since decided that I don't want fame. I do not seek fame. And I don't want a popularity. I do not seek popularity. But what I have decided that I am not content to enter this world and just leave it silent, because that's how I entered this world. My mother told me that I was very quiet, and as a child or a baby, wherever she took me, no one knew that I was there. I was very silent. I made life very easy for her. And so that is good in one term, but it's bad in some term, because for many years I have been silent. I have been quiet. And what ended up happening was that I was broken. And so I'm not content. I will not be contented in being quiet or silent anymore. And though I recognize the power of silence, because sometimes you've got to be silent. Sometimes, you know, we have these extremes as African people. We are either very loud or we are completely silent. We've got to find a balance. And so there are times when I'm going to be loud, and there are times when I'll remain silent. Sometimes I have plans and I don't share those plans because I recognize that, again, we're dealing with principalities and powers. And so when you open your mouth and you speak everything that you plan to do, the enemy will try to foil that. Back to the word cowardice. Now, some people will watch others do things and watch other people, you know, sort of accomplish greatness in their life, and they say these individuals are brave. So you still have to take the word coward or cowardice and separate it, because there are individuals who are doing very well. They're criminals, they're liars, they're, you know, thief broken down as a form of criminal, and they will do very well. And someone will say, well, they were not cowards. When Europe went to North America and chased off the First Nation people off the land, people would say they were brave. That is not bravery. That's not bravery. That's a whole different thing that we could talk about another time. But what was brave was that they went to places in the world. They didn't understand the landscape. They didn't know how to survive. And through bravery, they went there. Again, cunning is part of that too. But, you know, in bravery, they weathered the storm and they learned how to survive in environments that they were not really used to. For example, Africa. I mean, if you come from a cold climate and then you go to Africa, I'm sure that would be a great adjustment. I'm from Jamaica, and when I go home, it takes me a while getting used to all that heat. And that's where I was born and grew up. So, yeah, so the word coward, you have to look at it carefully. But what I'm trying to say this morning is that most of the things that are happening to us as African people are as a result of our cowardice. We think that it is better to stay silent and live another day. But the definition says that it's a trait wherein fear and excess self-concern override doing or saying what is right or good. So you claim that you're a religious person, and the ideologies or doctrines of your religion says you must not do this thing. And what do? Behind closed doors, you tell your comrades or your companions, this is a bad thing. The scripture says this, or the Quran says this, or whatever you use as your, guide. It says this thing. But because you're such a coward, you allow individuals who don't believe, because you say you're governed by this, deity that controls you and rules you and leads you. And yet you are afraid of man who have no power. The same deity that you believe created you, created those persons. And when those persons look in your face and say, you can't do this, you are afraid. You are more afraid of the man than you are afraid of the deity you serve. That's cowardice. It's cowardice that Black people continue in this time to sit back and to stay silent regarding oppression. When we see Black men and women and children being murdered in the world, you sit back and you don't say anything. When you see videos like this, you agree in quiet, but you will not make a comment. You see, for me, the comments are very important to me, but at the same time, I still warn individuals, you must decide what you're willing to die for. You must decide what you are willing to give up your freedom for. And so you can't just make some willy-nilly comment in a section with a random stranger and implicate yourself saying things that might come to hurt you. So some people don't comment. I understand that. But at the same time, it is that cowardice that causes you and your brothers and sisters in the world to die. See, when we sometimes look at individuals in the media and hear them open their mouth and say things, and you say, what hypocrisy. But at the same time, when I circle the argument again, I say to myself, well, really, of a fact, they ought to do and say what they're saying. This is what they believe. Why believe it in private and not say it in public? So on one hand, the problem with the hypocrisy is that you do one thing and you say one thing. That's the part that I don't like. But in terms of, I don't know if you're getting what I'm trying to say, in terms of saying your truth, instead of, it says, when the fear and excess concern override doing or saying what is right or good, and of help to others or oneself in time of need. The African people in the world, they need my voice. They need me to speak out about what I see. It indicates a failure of character in the face of challenge. And so when we are challenged, because we will run out there in a crowd and we will make our voices heard and it will be loud. But the moment we go down the road and we see a line of soldiers or police officers or dignitaries come and tell you to stop, you don't push through that barricade because you're a coward. The ancestors who have been successful in making changes had to lay down their lives. They got to the point when they say, if I die, I die. Claude McKay said, if we must die, let us not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot. Read that poem, If We Must Die, by Claude McKay. If we must die, let us nobly die. You can't be a coward. So the coward is in a bad relationship, and that man is beating her. He's doing all kinds of terrible things to her that not just depletes her self-esteem, but eventually he will kill her. And because fear and cowardice are companions, fear tells her, if you leave, what are you going to do? You can't take care of yourself. If you leave, who's going to have you? You're fat, you're ugly. If you leave, you know, he's going to kill you. But if you stay, you're still fat, because he's going to be telling you that every day. He's still going to tell you that you're ugly, and he's still going to kill you. You're at a job where you're being abused, where you're unfulfilled. You're not even happy in that job. You hate the job, not just because of the people around you, but you're not doing what you should be doing. And cowardice tells you, you know, fear is there saying, well, if I leave this job, how am I going to pay my bills? If I leave this job, you know, I might not find another job. Cowardice is there to tell you, yeah, don't do that. Don't sacrifice yourself. Don't make this terrible mistake. You want to have your own business and you have some savings and you are very good at a particular thing, and something in you tell you you've got to go after this dream, and cowardice comes to you and say to you, oh yeah, you take that money. So fear, see, they're working interchangeably. Fear says, oh, you know, I want to do this, but what if I lose my money? What if it was a mistake? And cowardice says, are you stupid? Put that money down for your funeral. We're cowards, and we fail to do what is in the best interest of oneself or others, what is right for yourself or for others. And so the opposite of fear, opposite of cowardice, sorry, is courage. And if you have no courage, you lack character. When you're challenged, when you're faced with challenges, sometimes you lie down and you cry for a moment. It is only human that you do that, because sometimes the burdens of life are so heavy that you fall under the weight of it. But it's not the falling down or the crying that is a problem, is when it's time for you to get up. See, I have fallen many times, and sometimes I give up and say, this is it, I'm dead now, it's over, forget it, just be dead already. But then something in me say, just not yet, not yet. So as I don't seek fame or popularity, there's something in me that there's fire, even when that light is flickering and the wind is so strong that it appears that this light is going to go out. There is something within me that says, not yet, not yet. It's not done yet. The job is not done. It's not finished yet. So you cannot die. And so I refuse to die. So as I work on my own courage, I'm encouraging individuals to work on yours, to understand that when you see something happening to a brother or sister in the world, if you don't get to that point where you recognize it is happening to you, when you allow fear to prevent you from speaking up and speaking out, or at least doing something, because sometimes talking too much is not good, but doing something about it, coming up with a plan, a solid plan that will allow you to come out of Babylon, come out of a system that tramples you underfoot. You can't wait for somebody else to deliver you. You have all the power within yourself to deliver your damn self. We do. Fear holds us back. Cowardice make us say, surrender. It's not a good look. And unfortunately, it's a look that we send out to the world. And so you find somebody come from a part of the world where they were suffering, they live in a dumpster. Poverty once took a hold of them. And when they come to the West, or they come where Black people are, all of a sudden they start showing off on you, talking down to you, skinning up their face on you, when in their countries they're seen as dirt because they were so poor. And then when they come to this part of the world that you have worked hard to build, you allow these individuals to come to you and talk to you and treat you in ways because you're a coward. Stop being this way. Rise up and stand up and recognize that we are a powerful people. Marching is not all we can do. Singing is not all we can do. Dancing is not all we can do. There's a lot of things we can do, and we have the ability. And you see, killing is not all we can do. You understand me? Because though they try to put that us out there and make us seem like we're violent, nobody's more violent more than the ones who made guns. Nobody is more evil than the ones who put a gun in the hand and open it and take the life of somebody else, and sometimes innocent people. Cowards do that. And individuals sometimes use the gun to defend that life. I agree. But look around you. Look at all these individuals. Recently now there's another black man, you know, looking after a disabled person. I think he's autistic or something. And police shot him even though he's on his back, hands up in the air, and saying, hey, I'm unarmed, and explained himself. He was still shot. Thank goodness he's alive. Now, he wasn't a coward. He was brave. Although he was lying on his back, he was doing what he had to do, you know, to protect himself. See, here we go again. Coward is a trait wherein fear and excess self-concern override doing or saying what is right, good, and of help to others and oneself in a time of need. At that moment when that man lied down on his back, he was very brave because he was putting his hand up. He wasn't trying to protect himself. He was trying to protect that boy because he knew that the young man was autistic and couldn't explain himself. Explain that the boy is of no threat to anybody. All he has is a truck in his hand. That was very brave. The one who went and shot him is a coward. And so you have to understand, a lot of these individuals that are killing us and killing our children are cowards. And they have the protection of the states. They use these bully tactics and these bravado strong words and these fake laws to guarantee their passage. You know, going around and doing the slave patrol like they did back then. Not many things have changed. Things have not changed that much. So you can change other people. You got to change yourself. You got to be brave. Got to be wise. Got to be strong. In the link below, I'll find some of my favorite songs. I'll share them with you today. Can I hear from you? Your opinion on the matter. Do not say anything to incriminate yourself, that you know if this wonderful medium that is here, governed by government, will see it and say that you're a bad person. You know, I want to hear a comment. I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for me. No. I'm not trying to drag people down with me. You must know what you're willing to die for. And let it not be someone that you don't know and you don't care about. Let it be about yourself at least. Once you love yourself, once you value yourself, once you put purpose and bring purpose to your own self, then whatever you do is going to be powerful. And all fear shall be gone, because I have fears. That's a natural instinct. It's a trait, as this thing says. It's something that everybody has. It's that flight or fight kind of thing that human beings, you know, have had to harness in order to survive in this world. But there comes a time when you cannot allow fear to leave you immobilized. There comes a time in your life when you've got to stand up and say, I have to die for something. What would it be? Freedom is very important for me, even though I'm beginning to hate that word freedom, because even the word free and dumb at the end, you know, you can see the conflict in that word that was created. And when those people put these words together, they always have meaning, double meaning. They're code words. So sometimes I see conversation and people, it just goes over people's head. That movie that I told you about, Zero Dark 30, was a code word that was used into a conference. A woman said something to people in a conference that was gathered, and she used that term to make a statement. And I looked it up, and when I saw it, it blew my mind off. Listen for code words, people. Don't just be so dense. We need some code words, African people. I need to be able to speak to someone in Africa using a code word, and they understand. That's what our ancestors did, people. They beating those drums and you communicate a language or conversation across the miles. We've got to get back to that point. That's what I want. I want to get to the point where I can speak to somebody in Jamaica without saying anything, just beating a drum. We got to get back to that point. We got to get back to the point where we are one with spirit. And I can just look at you and you know what I'm saying. We can't just blabber mouth and just speak the language of the masters and expect that we'll be free. No, we've got to create our own conversation in our own language, even language that we create. Being a coward is not a good thing. As long as you're a coward, you will remain enslaved. Be blessed, African people. Think on these things.